You're tuned to the Business Rundown. Grab your coffee and enjoy.
All right, we're on. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing great today. Here we are, Yahoo. Well, I always just wake up so excited to just dive into business, and I'm really excited about today's topic because on yesterday's episode, we were just kind of touching on why even build a business that is worth something, right? Like, what's wrong with just building something that could replace my income? And there's nothing wrong with that, but like we talked about yesterday is if you're going to be spending the time anyways, you might as well get the most bang for your buck out of it, right? And get that freedom of your time back, which allows you to do whatever it is that you want to do whenever you want to do it. So today, Chad, I really wanted to kind of pick your brain about your expertise because I know you have such a strong understanding and experience in marketing, working with a number of different companies, and really how do people really make their website an asset? So, yeah, I mean, let me just start with that question. How do you make your website an asset?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and something a lot of business owners miss is they start at the wrong end. They start thinking about what can they do to make themselves look amazing. And so they'll talk about themselves, they'll talk about, why you should hire them, how many years of experience. My favorite is, so even if they didn't start the business, if it's been around in their family for generations, they'll talk about how their grandfather started a company and, why that's great. And it's like, nobody cares. They really don't. People are only landing on your website because they have a problem. They need something solved, and if your website isn't telling them that, it's not an asset. It's a what I would call a glorified brochure. And if you were to ask me, hey, find a brochure, in your office, in your house, I'd not be able to do it because I throw them away. I don't keep brochures because they are just little information packets. They don't do anything else. So a simple website that is an asset will have a headline that tells me what problem you solve, is accompanied by an image. So in that, we call it a hero section. Some people call it above the fold. If you think of a newspaper, it's what you would see first. And so having an image that accompanies that, or no image at all, it doesn't have to have an image, but a lot of people put vague images. My favorite is we help you rise above, and then it's a guy with his arms up on a mountain, and it's like, okay, well, but what do you do?
Cringeworthy. I know what you're talking about because I've seen it so many times, and I think what you're hitting on is kind of spot on, right? I mean, how often do you see an ad and they're talking about all the features, and it's like, I don't care about that, Tell me what, solve my problem, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, the biggest thing with features is we write about the features as business owners that we care about, not always the features that our customers care about, and you have to get in the mind of your customer and not in the mind of you as a business owner. So I'm trying to coin this term, and it might be around already, but customer-centric marketing. Mm-hmm. And it's just all about the customer because it's so easy to be all about us. But if we're not thinking about the customer's need, that's the reason why maybe not why you're in business, but why you're able to stay in business is the customer, right?
Right.
And I think it's very easy to forget that, especially when you're having highs in your business. You think, oh yeah, I'm on top of the world, I'm successful because of me, my hard work. And yes, that is a factor. It really is. But the customer is the reason why you are able to have a business.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically a sustainable long-term business.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of there's a saying that I always grew up with, and we call it financial services because we serve you. We're not here for us, right? So
Yeah, 100%.
I think that applies in all industries. We're here for the end user or for the client, not because we're so awesome, right? Just look at how many people fail on YouTube. Right. We could probably make a whole episode about that, but
We could also probably make a whole episode of how many podcasts fail.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's because, and I think you're hitting on it, whether you want to call it customer-centric marketing. It's really what I believe is it's the user experience that you're delivering, right? And what's the engagement that comes from that? And that ultimately determines whether the business will continue or not. And interestingly enough, it actually corresponds. There's a great metric called Net Promoter Score, which actually really is a very pretty accurate and scientifically validated process to determine how likely is your business going to grow and by how much. So we'll probably actually have another episode about that too, because there's so much to dive into. But so when we're talking about, because we're kind of started off on the line of websites, and again, I know you have a strong background in website design and website building and how to make an effective website. Instead of talking about like what everyone does right, what are probably the most common mistakes that people make? Because I know I've seen a number of websites that, again, the word is like cringeworthy. Where you go on, you're just like, what is that? Like, doesn't tell me anything, right? Makes you just want to click off. So what are some of those things that you see? Because you obviously see a lot of, I don't want to call it either DIY websites, like bad ones. I'm not talking about, there are a lot of good ones too, right? Some bad DIY ones, or maybe there's like a new marketing person who didn't really do a great job, right? Like, what are things that you're seeing on websites that people can it's a really strong opportunity for people to improve?
So I'm going to start this with a caveat that I am not anti-Wix or anti-DIY websites. I think you can build beautiful websites with Wix, with Weebly, Squarespace, even WordPress, as a beginner. And I believe in DIY tools so much that I created one. And the problem with DIY tools is that they are design focused. So the biggest problem with websites is that people, I keep saying the biggest, a big problem. They're all big problems. I don't know which one's the biggest. I think it depends on your business. But one of the big problems with a DIY website is that it's design first. And that's not a good way to jump into building a website. You should start with strategy. And that looks different to everyone, right? How you want to go about that. There are several frameworks that help that can help you create that strategy. Hundreds of methodologies. I'm not sure if there's one that's right. We use kind of a mix of several and put it all into a bucket. So that's a big mistake, is just starting with design. I always talk about Berkshire Hathaway's website. I don't know how often or if you've ever been onto their website, but it hasn't changed since probably the late 80s, early 90s. Like, whenever they bought BerkshireHathaway.com, they put the website up. But it does what they need it to do. And that's another problem, is that a lot of businesses just build a website based off of what they see other companies do. And so they think that that's what they're supposed to do. I'm going to do this because I've seen everyone do this. So that's when they put that vague image up of the guy standing on the mountain, put that vague headline. They put, all that information about them. Spoiler alert, the About You page actually shouldn't be about you. Like on my company website, we put about it, it says about you, and then you is, or about us, and then us is crossed out, and it says about you. And it's just telling you why you would be a good fit for us. So it's not saying like you don't mention yourself at all, but it's customer centric, customer focused.
And I'm going to pause you right there because I've actually never been to the Berkshire Hathaway website. I've read all of Warren's like letters to shareholders, from the very first one, and so I it's kind of interesting because as a value investor, Warren Buffett being like the godfather, or value investing, right? It's kind of interesting that I've actually never been to his website, but you mentioned it. I pulled it up and I'm looking at it right now, and it's like, that is as basic as it gets for a website. But as you mentioned, it's effective for what they need it to do, right? There is no inspirational image, right, of a guy standing at the top of a mountain, which we probably see everywhere, or in a suit or what have you. But it literally just says, here's kind of what you need to know. Links to all these things. So
yeah, here's what you need to know. Here's some of our companies. Here's the nicest part, and I haven't been on the website in a while, and I doubt it's changed a lot. But the nicest part about it is like they're all just static links in Times New Roman, and then the Geico link is a Geico logo. So it's like that's the nicest part of the entire website is the Geico logo. But yeah, and that is the main problem with DIY website builders, is because you see this beautiful template design and you just follow the flow of that template design, not really following the flow of what
strategy.
And so I guess as a resource, I'll share one of the frameworks that we use, which is the StoryBrand SB7 framework by Donald Miller. So there's a book about it called Building a Story Brand. There's another book telling you basically how to build a website and funnel for your business called Marketing Made Simple. He's got a couple of other business books, but those two really will help you build an effective website. And basically it starts with, and this is used by movies, books, story, like this framework has been used for thousands of years by storytellers. But it starts with a hero. The hero is not you, the hero is your customer. And a lot of people push back to this because they're like, well, I want to be the hero because it's my story.
It's your company, right? Like it needs to be about you. And funny that you mentioned that, because when you're building a valuable business, the more dependent it is on you, the less valuable that business actually is. So sorry for that interruption, but continue.
Good. Well, and if you think about it, a hero is often a vulnerable character, right? If you've watched any movie, right, the hero is often in a tough spot. They don't start in a bright place. Even Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, right? He is the hero, and you're like, oh, like his life seems amazing. It seems so fun, and then you realize he's a video game character, and it's like, well, how is he going to be vulnerable? Oh, well, actually, like way deep down, he's depressed and wants life to be a lot more than what it is. He has real aspirations, even though he's a video game character. And it's like, oh, wow, yeah, he needs someone. And then
there's a deeper connection, or that deeper human connection.
And then the guide. So there's a character. The character has a problem, right? And so his problem is basically a midlife crisis for a video game character. And then that hero is going to meet a guide. That guide is your business. So in Free Guy, it's Millie's character in the game. So Millie was one of the video game's creators, and she's kind of helping him through it, although she's also trying to help herself, right? So that's actually a really good example of how a lot of businesses are, because they They want to help themselves too. They're doing it for a reason. And she actually wasn't super eager to help in the beginning. A lot of people look at it as Luke Skywalker connected with Yoda, right? It's that
Your business is Yoda. Your customer is Luke Skywalker, and Luke's going on a journey, to bring balance to the Force. So, but he needs some help to reach his full potential to get there. So,
100%.
I like that. Well, this has been really interesting, and you actually really touch on something that I think is so important, and that is the value of telling stories, just period, right? Because tale as old as time, right? We always used to, as humans, sit around the fire and tell stories, right? And we're so pre-programmed to want to hear stories and put them into these frameworks, and it's so interesting that right now that we're talking about how that applies in marketing and building a website and building a business, and all these things, everything is interconnected, to the story that you tell to the world and the world tells to you. So this has been a great start, and I really look forward to, I think maybe in our next episode, we'll dive into some more stories that are extremely powerful that can really help business owners build valuable businesses and really build an asset. Because to kind of go full circle back to the beginning of the story or of the episode, right? We're talking about how do you make your business an asset, or how do you make your website an asset? And it's not just, avoiding these mistakes, but it's also how do you create a story for your business, and how does that how do you turn that story into assets, right? How do you tell that story? Well, the website's going to be one component of it. Your salespeople are going to be another component of it, right? Management is a component of it. So, this has been really great. So thanks for that, Chad.
Yeah, for sure. And the biggest thing to kind of remember when going into building a website is going in with a mindset of your website has the potential to be your best, not only salesperson, but really employee, because essentially all the information that comes into your business can come in through your website. And if you don't have a great website, and by great website, I don't mean beautiful website, people do care about design, and they care if things look good, but more than anything, they're going to hire who seems easy to work with. And so if your website's simple to use, you're going to be perceived as easy to work with. And someone who responds quickly. And if your website is built to funnel people into your sales process seamlessly, you're going to be the first person to reach back out to them when they request information or sign up for an ebook or whatever they're doing to get into your pipeline.
Yeah. I mean, as you kind of mentioned, and we'll kind of wrap up, I mean, it's the ultimate employee, right? It could be like an assistant and schedule appointments for you. It could be like a salesperson, and it can deliver specific information in a specific manner for them. It could be like your customer experience folks, right? Because it's going to deliver a certain type of experience, right? Easy to work with or hard to work with. And so, yeah,
we could do an episode on that, like the hats your website could wear.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we always talk about the hats that we wear as business owners, but we can talk about, the hats that we can take off because this computer is just sitting there and able to work 24/7.
365, making money while you sleep.
Yeah, cool. You have any other questions on this topic, or?
No, I think we're good for this episode today. We'll wrap it up, and we'll look forward to diving into another episode tomorrow.